it never felt hard. Till one morning I had a rodent on my face, and then I said like, now I don't have money, I don't have food, I don't have any appointments,
and I have ratatouille.
Everything looked like food. Like I felt like, you know, like you would see a person and you would see like that person looks like a burger. And I swear I felt that there's a whole mob running behind me with sticks. Actually, it wasn't difficult at all.
पूरी कहानी मर गई. हाँ, ठीक है, बताओ.
I remember that there was a bookshop and I found this directory. I said, oh my god, this is like treasure. But while going back from there in the taxi, I remember we cut down Sabka and I wrote Apna, and I told Zoya that it will work better. So that was the plan.
And what happens?
Nothing that I planned.
Hey everyone, it's Stumble time once again, and with me is my dear friend, my colleague, my partner in many ideas, ventures, thoughts, Ankur Tewari. Very difficult to describe Ankur because what do you say? Singer, songwriter, now showrunner, screenplay writer. इसके अलावा भी बहुत बता रहे हैं. अभी तो ये label head भी बन गए हैं. Apart from that, the person who's behind Coke Studio Bharat and many more things. We'll find out so much about Ankur, his journey, his stumbles. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's amazing to be here, especially because it's called Stumble. Seems like a story of my life. So,
I really thought you were the perfect candidate yaar, for this.
कि लड़खड़ाते रहते हैं.
हम लड़खड़ाते रहते हैं. And actually, you've made many of us comfortable with the idea of ladkhadana also, right? I often tell people about this story about finishing my film, coming out on the other side, and genuinely the first person, when I was at that time feeling very creatively drained, who said ke aa jaya karo yahan pe idhar udhar, you know, blue frog aa jana, blue frog pahunch gaya, अरे क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ पर aa jana, अरे ये क्या हो रहा है. I actually discovered a lot of the independent scene, etc. Through Ankur. So thank you once again for that.
Oh, it's lovely because that's part of my life, and it was lovely to share a part of my life with you.
But tell me, Ankur, for a person so grounded in Bharat, you're born in Brussels. ये कैसे हुआ?
Oh, that you should ask my parents.
Have you ever been back?
No, in fact, next year we are going to go. It's my mom's 70th birthday, so we have decided that we're going to go.
That's fabulous. So you'll be able to maybe relive some of that.
Yeah, so one of our dreams is for us to walk through the streets where we were, revisit our home, and meet a few friends.
Oh, that's fantastic. What's your first memory of doing something creative?
It's a tough question to ask, but I definitely was interested in doing a lot of what people used to term as extracurricular at that time. And you would be involved in like sometimes the cousins would get together.
Where was this? Now where are we?
So yeah, so it was, say for instance, cousins would get together in Shimla, and then we would record a radio play on cassette, and we would all take parts. And I remember once I got a part of like a Sanic and the horse, because in the book I had to do tick-tick. So,
how amazing.
So you would divide parts, and all of us would do things. We would obviously put up skits for our parents. We would role-playing different kinds of things. Sometimes my sister and I would pretend that we were running a restaurant, and we'd invite our parents over for the meal that my mom had cooked. And they would sit, and then we had to sell them the meal of what they're going to eat that day. So we would make menu cards and things. So I think we were always doing something fun.
I remember that with one of my cousins and my sister, we would play Amar Akbar Anthony, and I would always get bullied. I would always end up playing Akbar. They won't let me play Amitabh Bachchan. Yeah. They won't let me play Vinod Khanna because my sister thought Vinod Khanna was the coolest. And you know, everybody thought Amitabh Bachchan was the coolest at that time. Poor Rishi Kapoor used to get relegated. So मैं बेचारा Akbar Elahbadi करता रहता था, whatever, etc. You know, it was so crazy.
So childhood was definitely sprinkled with a lot of time that we had, and we would be doing things that now, if you feel that, you could classify them as being creative.
Yeah, but this thing about making your own world, playing all these roles, I don't see many children do it now. You know, like, and you may not be able to see it. I mean, because I have children and I've been around a lot of children or whatever. I feel that devices and screens have taken over their lives much earlier, and therefore they do not have such a world of make believe. Everything is, this is it. This is the format. Unless they take to reading early. Sorry, I'm just getting
No, I'm just
segueing. But I know
listening.
because Ankur is like, acha.
Because this is I'm taking input right now, so
Right,
I
but
don't
isn't
know.
it, don't you think? Because I really and that role playing again, personal story. Arslan was very young, and he loved dinosaurs. Because I think at that time Jurassic Park had come and we bought him the dinosaur book, and every night I would have to make up these stories, and I would have a dinosaur meet with a gorilla, and they would fall in love, and then something would happen, and then there would be a magic fairy and something. But that entire thought of being able to create that story, rather than hand them something where it was all preconceived, somehow I personally feel is a kind of a disservice. I mean, we are trying to outsource our job to devices on certain occasions. Because I think parents are the first storytellers in your life.
I feel so. Like my early stories are all because of my parents and my grandparents. But at the same time, I would feel that maybe the kids these days are doing something creatively. They're thinking it differently. I still feel that if the saying where you give a kid a toy and they play with the box and not the toy, I feel it would still happen because they would still kind of see things where they don't exist, what don't exist, or then imagination, and I feel that the imaginations would still run wild, and it would go and create things. Like I remember when we were kids, like a tree branch could become a gun, or things became different things, but other people won't understand what we were doing. And I'm sure it's even now kids are doing that.
I'm sure. I suddenly actually, because when you said it, and I suddenly thought about the fact of saying, wow, how many worlds we used to create at that point in time. वो एक चादर के नीचे टेंट ही बन जाता था, चादर पीछे लगा दो सुपरमैन बन जाते थे, चादर को ऐसे रख दो तो बुलफाइटर बन जाते थे.
Nowadays kids have many profiles on the internet.
Absolutely.
So, and they're different avatars, so they're obviously living four or five
lives.
different personalities.
My daughter has four. She has an Finsta, her own profile and one stalker profile also. She told me. I said, who do you stalk? She says the boys. I'm like, okay, great. That's life, I guess. You're in school. What are you doing? Are you one of those studious kids who's like, हाँ मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ, or are you discovering things? Because when you said in the beginning that stumble seems to be the part of your life, I know of a lot of stumbles, and I'm actually trying to lead you there. But what was it like? Was there this thing of, अरे ये तो बड़ा अच्छा, father's a professor, all of this, तो क्या था उसमें?
I was a good student, not a bad student. But our school life was also very open in that way. Our school didn't have a boundary wall. We could walk in from anywhere. It was just 5 minutes away. Sometimes you could hear the bell ring and just walk to school.
This is Roorkee?
Roorkee, it was a very small town. It's so like everything is, 10 minutes away maximum. So you have a lot of time with yourself, and you never felt caged in school. We were doing a lot of cultural activities there. We were studying. Our teachers were fun. It never felt like somebody is being strict with you, or it was a lot of fun time in school. And we were studying as well, and we were just because we had so much time, it didn't feel like there's a lot of homework to do. So you'd finish your homework, then you would go to sleep, then you would go play or gallivant here or there, come back. Still you would have time. That the thing, because there was no kind of internet or everything was so close, it feels we had a lot of time with us, and we were just spending that time doing multiple things. In the night sometimes there would be load shedding, and all the kids would come out and we would play hide and seek till the lights came back. Then, so also because we were in a campus where my father was a professor, so it was very safe. You could just walk out of your home, walk into somebody else's home, open somebody's fridge, eat whatever you had. So it never felt like you were caged in. It always felt like a very open world.
That kind of open world actually gives you so much more to do. In these conversations, your father would be around other professors, other people coming over. My parents were both teachers. I often remember these big dinners which would start with a lot of laughter and then end with a lot of like really serious thought and all. Sometimes desert ke time pe baatein badi serious ho jati thi. I was like, yaar ye kya ho raha hai? But it would be a 2-3 hours. Was there anyone at that point in time who you thought was your first influence, your first muse, somebody who you found, my God, so and so is, ye uncle bahut creative hai, ye auntie?
There were a lot of like students that would come home who were my father's students. They were all studying in IIT, and my mother used to direct plays. So while she was directing plays, a dramatic society kids would be hanging at our place, eating food. So rehearsals would happen. So those people really influenced me a lot. I was fascinated by how a play is set up, how the readings would happen, and how they would do plotting on stage, and then how they would make sets and things. So that all of that world really influenced me. I used to dream that I would be on stage with them and act there and perform like they perform, and it was just fascinating. So those guys really inspired me and influenced me. And then there was a music room in the college as well, where you would just go and you could plug in guitars and play, and you would see these people in rock shows. Thomso used to be the...
Oh yes, my God, that festival was fabulous.
Yeah, so a lot of bands would come from all around the country. They would play. So we saw probably the first performance of Indian Ocean. Parikrama used to come and play, and the other bands used to come and play, and we used to see them perform and wish that, oh my God, like we want to be on stage like this. It was really hard to get in because you're not a student and you're not an adult. So how would you get in? How would you see that performance? But there was a thrill in that world. You saw so many people who were your heroes at that time.
It sounds so. I mean, honestly, I'm almost thinking that you're telling me a story that I've been a part of, because my mother used to teach at the Awadh Girls College, which was a girls' college. So all the boys wanted to get in, and they would have one festival. And because my mom was a teacher, I would be treated very nicely by all the boys and stuff. Come, we'll have a burger. Come, we'll do this and whatever. And I would get to see all the performances. And actually, a lot of the influences of the work I do today, I sometimes can actually take back to them. I remember this boy from AMU who was such a brilliant actor. They say he was Nasir Saab's batchmate. And we used to do an act where he would keep half of his face contorted in one manner and the other half absolutely straight. Like, I was like, we used to look at it saying, this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde act he used to do. Wow. It was like mind-blowing. Absolutely crazy. Two things that were essential, or three things that were essential in all our lives at that time. One used to be a cassette recorder. एक घर पे पहला black and white TV होता था और कुछ किताबें होती थी. What were you listening to? What were you reading? What were you seeing?
So a lot of our childhood was I loved comics, between Indrajal comics and Amar Chitra Kathas.
Wow.
I used to love Asterix and Obelix, and Tintin was my favorite. Both also you took pride because both Tintin and Asterix were born in Belgium.
I was going to ask you that thing.
So for me, I wore it like a badge.
That's great. And what was the music you were listening to? What was your first cassette? Mixtape में क्या था?
Mixtape में there were two aspects of my mixtape life. One was my parents had recorded a lot of radio from Belgium.
Goodness. Wow.
So I was listening to a lot of songs with some French commentary in the middle, and my French was as good as my English, so I didn't understand anything what was happening, but I would pretend that I understand. And a lot of songs I heard with a lot of bands, but I didn't know the name of the band. Sometimes I realized that I heard Dire Straits much before I thought I heard Dire Straits. There's a song called Water of Love.
Oh my God, what a great song. Very swingy.
Yeah, so Water of Love was a song that I had long back, and then I bought a Dire Straits tape and I put it in and I heard Water of Love. So, oh my God, I heard it long back. And then a lot of students would go back home, they would make mixtapes and bring that. So a lot of music was discovered through the mixtapes that I got from the students. And I was recording a lot of my music secretly because we had a really nice deck in which you could plug in the microphone. And I don't know if it was a flaw in the deck or what was the case, but you could record on top of each other. So if I would record, that layer would stay and I could record on top of that. So I was just recording guitars, and then I was recording vocals on top of that, and then doing backing vocals. So I was just experimenting with that machine.
You had an 8-track kind of, it sounds like a...
it was
incredible.
And it was just there, and I didn't know what it was. And I assumed that everyone has it, but I realized later that
they don't.
Everybody didn't have it. And we were just recording songs there. And I also remember that I used to record applause after songs. I used to pretend I'm in a concert. So I used to have those MTV Unplugged tapes. So I would take the applause and I would fade it in and I would fade it out and pretend and say thank you as you're fading out and pretend that I'm in a concert.
Do you have any of those tapes with you?
They should be there somewhere, and I've tried to look for them, but it seems like in how parents have this amazing
Kept
quality.
in a safe place.
It's a safe place. I don't know where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. I mean, so this is when you start getting into music and doing stuff. When did you buy your first guitar, and was it gifted to you? Did you get it?
So my first guitar was gifted to me by my father. I must have been very young. I must have been like standard third or something. I remember it came from Allahabad in a hard case, and I was very excited. We opened it, and this was there, really beautiful looking piece. I picked it up and I realized that he has gotten me a Hawaiian guitar and not a Spanish guitar, and I didn't want that. Like putting the guitar on a lap and playing with a slide just seemed uncool. So I was very disappointed.
My sister used to do it at
Yeah.
And I'm like, yaar, ye mat karo, please, you know. Oh my God. Then what happened? Sent
Then
back.
I attended these classes where this teacher tried to teach us, who was very strict.
Hawaiian only?
Hawaiian guitar.
Baap re.
And they were just horrible classes. And they would teach us those songs, like Kahin Deep Jale, Kahin Dil kind of songs.
यही हॉरर सॉन्ग सिखाते थे. सोच सकते हो कौन सीखना चाहेगा? Why would there be a Hawaiian guitarist?
Because so that would happen. But the teacher was very strict. I think he hit me with his ruler once on my knuckles, and I decided I'm not going to take those classes anymore. And as a revenge against the teacher, I decided I'm going to learn on my own. So I converted that guitar. I took the bridge off and I used a saw and made it a different guitar. There used to be this magazine called Rock Street Journal.
Yes.
And it had
Run out of Allahabad, by the
yeah.
way.
So it had guitar tabs on it, and so I would ask my friends from Delhi to get it, or my cousins who were traveling then would get it. Then I would get my hands on that, learn the guitar tabs through that, and then try and play. And then VHS had also come into our lives, so sometimes you would pause and see how that guitar person is holding the guitar, and you would frame forward it to see how they're moving the fingers, and you
That's
pretty much.
a lot of effort, yeah.
But I said we had a lot of time.
But it's phenomenal. Can you imagine that? It's like pausing a YouTube video, right? So I mean, VHS was our mode of video, and frame forward was like you're holding this one button, going tuck tuck tuck, so everything moves by a frame. Which, you know, like if you played on super slow motion, you could do the same. You know, you got a 10-second advance button. Here you're talking about 24 frames per second, and if that's dedication, yeah.
It was just
Tewari,
a lot
you're
of
very
fun.
dedicated, man.
No, but it was something like I never.
Time bhi hai, lekin.
We had time, and I loved it. So it didn't feel like an effort. Like, you know, it didn't feel like you're going to a gym and you're hating being in the gym, or you were just loving it because there were worlds that you were creating through it, and there were worlds you were discovering through it. And I started rhyming words, so I started writing poetry that people started liking. You started getting attention from people. Wow. So that was very nice. Felt really good. Then I realized that you can go beyond rhymes, and you can even tell your stories through it, and nobody will come to know. So you could hide your secrets in the songs, and it was amazing to do that.
Is there any song you remember that time? What was the secret you hid?
I mean, you were obviously crushing on girls, and you would, like, you know, talking about how you met them, how you saw them, and in the songs, and you could sing it everywhere, and you felt really extremely, you know, top of the world when you could sing those songs in front of everybody, but only you knew what you were singing about. So it was very nice.
It's a strange kind of mystic power, right? It's incredible when you write your own songs and you produce them and do this. It's a joy, and that's what we'll talk a lot more about that with Ankur a little later. But at this point in time, there's a bit of a stumble that happens in your life, because suddenly there is this big career decision you have to make, right? We're close to that now, aren't we?
This was still in school.
Okay.
Yeah, after school.
You go to college. It's an easy transition.
It is like, I don't think that I was thinking that much. It's pretty similar to now. I don't like deeply analyze what I'm doing at that time. I go with the flow. So after that, growing up in Roorkee, everybody takes exams for IITs and all those things. I was never that good that I was going to get into any of those. I was also not really interested in getting there, because it just felt cliche that everyone becomes an engineer. So I wanted to do something different. So I found this article in the newspaper. I think my father found it, about hotel management. Took the exam for that, somehow cleared that. I wanted to be in a hostel, because I used to love how people live in a hostel. So the only college which was giving me a hostel was in Bhopal, and I found myself in Bhopal. And in a few weeks, I realized that probably I like to be served rather than serve, and it was not really my personality type. But again, I was singing songs there in the hostel, cafeteria, college, and having fun. I had found a really good bunch of friends there, and we were having a blast.
And tell me about these friends. Who are these friends? Are they all from various places? Are they all dedicated about hotel management?
A lot of them are. We recently had our alumni where I met some of them after many, many years, and they are doing really well for themselves. Right from one of them is a chef at Indian Accent, one of them is they're GMs of hotels around the world, chefs for Marriott in Asia Pacific region. They are the head. So my life was always after I started working has been amazing, because wherever I go, I check in my group, is somebody there?
Right.
Somebody knows somebody, and then you either get upgraded to a better room, you get more wine, or you get some special service, and you always
And how long did you survive in that hotel management thing?
3 years.
Throughout.
So you're there 3 years.
And you finished it in time.
6 months of industrial training in Taj Mansingh in Delhi, and back to college. And I didn't take my final exams because I didn't want to do. I was writing songs in my hostel while the exams were going on, and then I somehow realized that I should be making music. And I had gone from Roorkee to Bhopal, so I was quite naive, and I thought, like if Lucky Ali can do it, you can do it. So I'll take my.
So, who were you listening to at that time? What was was it Lucky Ali, Alicia Chenoy? All this was happening.
So we were listening to Lucky Ali, Silk Route. We are listening to
Euphoria has just started.
Euphoria a little bit, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, John Bon Jovi.
And there was a bit of a wave at that time with BMG Crescendo and all these people that pop music is happening. It wasn't just film music.
Yeah, so there was
right?
BMG
There was film,
Crescendo.
there was pop, and there was devotional.
So there was BMG Crescendo. The Archies had started its own label.
Yeah, true.
Euphoria, I think, did their album with them. Then there was, I'm sure the other labels also. There were a bunch of labels that were doing music which was non-film, as they would call it.
No, and I remember that what happened at that point in time was that there was this shift that I remember going to Hazratganj in Lucknow, and in this one place buying a cassette, and the cassette, a foreign cassette, was $75. And week later at my Panwala, suddenly somebody said कि यहाँ पर भी tape मिलते हैं, and there were these transparent T-series tapes which were for 8 rupees. So like it was such an economical shift. So I was like, यार ऐसे 6-7 बना सकते हैं, and even with the cost of the guy putting those songs.
There was this shop in Connaught Place in Delhi called the Clydes. Clydes used to have these mixtapes from all the bands, and they also used to sell T-shirts. So we used to go to Clydes, give them the list, and then they would take a chakkar of the Connaught Place, come back, and they would have burnt you that cassette, and then you would have your own mixtape from them.
Wow. No, that's absolutely incredible, and this journey of
C72, I think that the C72 was Clyde's का address.
Not bad. अंकुर तिवारी की मेमोरी बहुत ही तेज है और बहुत सारी और बातें भी करनी है. We're going to take a short break because there's a big thing which I believe is a great stumble in his life, because it suddenly takes him into this world of something that he doesn't know. I mean, still now it seems to be worlds that are a little known, but now he's entering a world which he doesn't know at all. Often Ankur and I talk about the hero's journey and this whole thing about the usual world and the unusual world, right? The known world, the unknown world. This is the unknown world. That inciting incident. What happened? What's going to happen? We'll find out after this break. Thank you for listening to Stumble. Why don't you join our tribe of community builders, creators, and culture shapers? If you find this interesting, all you need to do is go and subscribe to stumble.community on Instagram. Welcome back to Stumble. We're in year 3 of Ankur's hotel management career, where he's decided not to give his final exams and instead make music. Now, this is a really, really difficult decision, firstly, to take. Did you take it alone? Did you get your parents involved at this time? Were your friends supporting you? Kar de, dekha jayega.
Actually, it wasn't difficult at all.
पूरी कहानी मर गई. हाँ, ठीक.
Why I'm saying this is because I didn't know that it's going to be so tough to make music. I had no idea about that. I just realized it's going to be... I had not really faced the real world. It was, as I said, I was in Roorkee, which was very protected. And then you were in a campus among friends, which was also kind of protected. You were there living in a hostel and having fun. And life had really not hit you that hard on your face. And you just felt that you can do anything you want to do and it'll happen. I had not really faced any major failure in my life as yet. And so the decision was came out of this extreme sense of optimism. I recorded a demo tape in the hostel, and the corridors had this nice reverb, so you would sing and you would record it. And I made some, I think, 10 copies of that. And I knew that I'm going to go to Bombay, take those tapes to these music studios. They would listen to it. They would love my songs, like my friends are loving it. And they will cut an album for me. So that was the plan.
And what happens?
Nothing that I planned.
You come down to Bombay, you take a train?
Yeah, so I asked my parents if I can go there for 2 months and go and visit these studios because I want to follow my passion. I had not told them that I don't have a job as yet. I mean, I didn't have any numbers or addresses or anything.
Did you buy that film guide?
So
No.
that I discovered only when I went to Delhi.
Oh.
So I didn't know a film guide existed. So I just kind of asked people. I think I was coming on a train to Bombay. In the train, I met somebody who had given me, who I was singing a song in the train. That guy got speaking with me. He gave me a number of somebody in BMG, Crescendo. He said, and the landline number that you should call.
One of the landline thi, I think, mostly.
Call this number and you should go and meet them and an address. So I got really excited to have someone to meet. And somebody had given me the number to Alisha Chennai's brother, that he used to work in the same office or something. You should go and meet him. So I was sure between these two, something will crack.
And what happens?
So I came to the BMG Crescendo office, and obviously I couldn't go beyond the reception. And I said, I have a demo tape. I want to make somebody listen to it. They said, you can leave it here. I said, I don't want to leave it here. I want somebody to listen to it. And they told me they don't have a tape machine. So I was very dejected because they said it was a time of CDs. So they didn't have a tape machine, which left me very disillusioned. Then I met with Alisha Chennai's brother. He invited me to Trishna, I remember, for a meal. And I had no money. So I was very scared if I have to pay the bill, it will be very odd. So through the meal, I ate a lot, hoping that he would take the tab, and which he did very graciously. Okay. He gave me a few more numbers, a few more people to meet. I met a few more people, but nothing came out of it. Like it was...
And this is which year?
This is 98.
Okay.
So
nothing comes of this. Are you calling your parents and saying, I think I should go back and give that exam next year or no?
No, so because I was also quite stubborn. I had decided this is what I'm going to do. So I said, okay, now it's coming my way. I have to fight back. And how can they not like my songs? I was like very upset. So I went in harder and ran out of money. I had no place to stay. I had overstayed my welcome with my relatives. So and they were also advising me to do what I didn't want to do, was to join hotels. I was meeting some people in hotels also off and on, but that I knew that I didn't want to join. That was just to keep the family busy.
Correct.
And also at that time, a major recession had hit India because the Pokhran blast had happened. So there were no jobs, there were nothing. So all my friends were not doing well as well. A lot of them who had gotten through Taj and Oberoi had to wait for 8 months before they could join. Some of them were working in 3-star hotels and like really not doing that well for themselves. One of them was working close by in Worli. There was a restaurant called Viva Paschim, and he was a chef there. Yeah, so he was a chef there, my senior. So we would go to Viva Paschim to eat food. So he could give us some free food. somebody was giving us free food. Somebody had a place in a chawl, so I was staying there with him there and spending the night there. It was
Living in a chawl after coming from Roorkee and Bhopal, was it like a big come down?
I think Bhopal was hard. Like the hostel life was
hard. Okay.
Commando training. You know,
Acha,
we didn't have a really
No,
nice.
because I'm just saying, because see, for all of us who've maybe I've been to a chawl a couple of times, maybe just generally, and it's this, you know, one bathroom to one floor kind of scenario,
Yeah.
which is also a hostel, I think, to some degree.
Yeah, so it was like a hostel. It was like probably a dirtier hostel. And but you also intoxicated by the desire to make something of your life. So it was kind of romantic that you are trying to make it as a musician and you're living here. So I think it never felt hard till one morning I had a rodent on my face. So which was like really hard for me. And then I said, like, now I don't have money, I don't have food, I don't have any appointments, and I have
And I have ratatouille.
so Ratatouille only happened to me. I got on a train and went to Delhi where I knew more people.
Right.
And I spent some time in my friends' places. Some of my father's students who were in the dramatic society were, I stayed with them. And
Staying at people's houses like this, you know, because I remember in the early theatre days, we used to do it with the cast on occasion. And once I remember having overstayed my welcome and that couple trying very hard to tell me, and I was being deet and not trying to recognize it, till they finally locked their house one day and I couldn't come back, and I was like, oh, this is really them trying to tell me to bugger off. शर्म आती थी, बुरा लगता था, और by now you were like, अब तो यार पूछना ही है. कैसे, what would you do?
as I said, like I would know that a week is a good time, that you do evenings where you're singing and people are coming over, so they're also showing off that we have a singer with us, and it's great. But after that, you kind of know, and because I was in Roorkee and then Bhopal, the friend circle was quite nice, so you would just move from one place to another place, and as I said, most of our friends were kind of struggling at that time. So you would know where those bunch of friends are staying, so you would go and stay in their place. And the tough bit was the money bit. Staying was, because even if you're staying at some place, you still need money to survive, to eat food and to go to a place, or just get by. So that was the hard kind of bit. So you had to kind of manage your meals. I remember that I could only afford one meal in 2 days, so you divide it, buy that, have a heavy meal. Then if you have something like, I used to have bananas and chana, because that would, like, the gas would make you feel more full.
My God.
So you would devise things in which you feel more full than you are. I think chanas were really helpful. Chanas and kelas really help you out.
But look at it, when you go outside on the road also, and when you see, यही चीज़ें मिल रही होती हैं और हम कभी कभार रियलाइज नहीं करते कि इसकी अहमियत क्या है. What is the importance of this as a diet? My dad told me that when he was in Rajasthan as an electrical engineer and they were going to do bore wells and things, they would have to drink water from any place. So they would have to have onions after the food because it was something that would kill any bacterial infection.
We would discuss that, and I used to get really upset. Those days, they used to have these carts in Delhi. These silver carts where you would pump in and you would give water.
Oh my God, yes.
And it was 2 rupees for one glass. And I used to get really upset. How can you sell water? I was really upset with them. You cannot sell water. It's like ours. This was much before the revolution of these mineral waters. I mean, they had come around, but I never liked mineral water because it didn't have taste.
Right.
I remember once having mineral water and I spat it out because it was so tasteless.
Wow.
I was appalled at the idea that somebody could sell water. Also because I needed water.
and you're doing all of this. You've got your this. Now, what are you doing for work? Because ठीक है भाई, शाम तो हो गई, पर दिन में क्या कर रहे हो?
So I was just going and meeting people. That's where I found the directory in Bengali market. I remember that there was a bookshop and I found this directory and said, oh my God, this is like treasure. Because there's so many numbers from Bombay, from Delhi, and I would call them up and I would go there. And
so this, for those of you who don't know, used to be this thing called the film guide. And if you go in that, and our dear friend Mini Mathur in one done a story about how somehow her number and Govinda's number, even though they are not even alphabetically correct, but they were next to each other, and she would get 100 calls for Govinda. on a daily basis for whatever. So I mean, these are the film directory where you get all these, everyone's number is there. So you feel ke boss mil gaya, khazana finally mil gaya. This is it.
And it was something like that bell that rang. It was exactly like that. I would just go to a studio and ring the bell and ask questions. I had no idea what was happening there. And I also discovered that in these studios, there was a reception area and you could get free coffee there if you're waiting there. So there was this studio called Post Solutions in Horse Khas Market.
I remember. Yeah.
Which became kind of my adda. Later, I became friends with the owner, Ashwin Kumar, who was the owner of that studio. And I would get coffee there and I would use their phone to make more phone calls. So I didn't have to pay outside.
Bade jugaad karne padte the. Really, that's true. It is.
I mean, like, also your mind is working because you don't have any money. You have nothing. So you have to create something out of nothing. And somehow this thing had come into my mind that I don't have anything material, but I have ideas and I have to monetize these ideas in a way that I can create money out of that. Because if you have to create money it's literally creating money out of ether. So you had to use these ideas which people are calling jugaad, but I would say that there was no other way there, because otherwise you would be dead in a few days.
So what's the first idea that lands?
So the first big idea that I got was, if I go to these post-production studios and if I hang there pretending that one of my edits is going on, then I'll meet more people who can give me work. So at the reception, I started meeting more people and I got into the advertising scene there. And in the advertising scene, there were jingles being sung. So I somehow introduced myself as that I could sing a jingle and I could get jingles. So I started singing all the B jingles. The A jingle would be sung by somebody and they had to do language versions. So I started doing the language version, the Tamil version or the Telugu version or the Marathi version. There would be a language expert who would come and then you would just have to read and sing and keep that note. And they didn't even care about those versions that much. So I got that job.
Started getting money now.
Started getting very little money, like pocket money from here and there, 1 gig a month kind of a thing, and that would pay you some 3,000 or 4,000 rupees. Got a job of transcribing for an agency, a test match in which I had to transcribe an interview. The test match happened separately. I had to transcribe an interview where the guy used to lisp. So it was I had to go through a tape and try and write down what that guy was saying. Then I did one gig where I had to go through there was some Asian Test Championship happening. I think it was a Coca-Cola Asian Test Championship where India was playing Pakistan, and I had to go through the test match and spot how many times do you see Pepsi, and I had to keep a note of that. So I don't know who was doing that.
Were you hired by Nimbus? But this sounds like a very Nimbus kind of job. Nimbus used to do a lot of television, and Harish Thawani used to run. Nimbus was actually the person who actually specialized in a lot of this. You know, making sure that the right logos were seen during a cricket match. All this
could be. Like, I don't know, because you were all getting phone calls, and I didn't have a pager or anything. I would have to call and say, "Oh yeah, there's this job, come do it." And so it was pretty much like that.
Wow.
And at the same time, going through the directory and meeting people. So I had gone through A, I had gone through B. And in C, I met Colonel Kapoor, who gave me my first kind of legit job. And my joke with him was that, thank God, you're not a general. You retired as a colonel. So I found him on C, and then
Colonel Kapoor, sorry, for those of you who don't know, produced Fauji, which is the show that launched Shah Rukh Khan. And actually it was meant to launch his son, Bobby, if I'm not mistaken, right? Bobby Kapoor was being launched as a very, very nice looking person or whatever, but of course Shah Rukh is Shah Rukh.
Bobby also shot the first season. He was the cameraman.
He was actually the person who also shot it. And that's what happened. And Colonel Kapoor is the person, if any of you have a memory, who used to be in that Thoda Ketchup Try Karo ad, but you must have been really, really small. And for many of you, that won't even be a memory, but it's absolutely fine. It is for us.
Yeah, so Colonel kind of gave me my first job in the way that he loved my songs. He was amazed. He was the first one who kind of heard my songs, apart from the friends who were helping me. And then he said, "You should work with me." I said, "Yes, of course, I'm looking for work. I'll work with you." And it all seemed fine. And I said, "What kind of work?" He said, "You will be working in all departments. You will be my kind of a DA. and you'll be doing things. We'll be writing scripts, we'll be shooting, we'll be editing, we'll be doing stuff. And I said, wow, this seems like I've hit the jackpot. Soon he announced that he doesn't have money to pay me. So I said, oh my God. But so I said, so Colonel said, like, your face has fallen, young man. He used to speak in a very...
Your face has fallen, young man. Yeah.
I said, yeah, because I need to pay rent and I need to, like, can't stay with my friends forever. So I need to make some money. So he said, no problem, young man. Junior, he used to call me Junior. No problem, Junior, you can stay here. So I started staying in Colonel's house. And that the office in the day was my bed in the night. And his wife was particularly upset about that. She was Ma Premusha. She used to read tarot in Maurya.
Maurya Sheraton?
Yeah. And Ma Premusha, Colonel and I...
She couldn't see this future herself.
She and I had a very nice relationship, like bittersweet kind of relationship. She was not happy that her husband has suddenly got this
Guy,
kid with a guitar staying in their house. At the same time, the first time she saw me, she said that you'll do very well. So it was crazy. And it was, she was very strict in a way. She should have been, because Colonel used to spend all the money he used to make. His company was called NFA, I think. New Film Academy, New Film Addicts was the name of his company.
Wow.
And many months later, he told me, Junior, do you know why we don't get any jobs? I said, why? It's an army. NFA stands for no further action.
Very true, actually, right?
So, but he was a funny guy. Like, he used to pay me a little, stipend. Through the week, like I would get like 10, 15, 20, 50 rupees. I don't even know what I would get. So I could get by. And the end of the week, on Saturdays, we used to go and play snooker. He was snooker champion, and he would make me bet and win all the money back. So he's one of the funniest people I've met, but it was a joy working with him because he kind of opened my world. He showed me the art of screenwriting. He showed me the art of filming and art of how a film gets made, and I got fascinated by that. And I said, okay, this is amazing. Like, I just don't need to block myself and be a musician. I can do so much more in filmmaking. And he opened that world. And the first project that we got from there actually was Vipassana, that we did in Tihar prison with Kiran Bedi. Which kind of opened my eyes, because we were spent time in Tihar and we saw these hardened criminals who had, somebody would have committed 10, 15 murders, and they were weeping after Vipassana, and like it was just very moving shooting that. And then we did this. We got a big gig at that time. Was a documentary on the sappers, and Colonel was from Bombay Sappers. And the documentary was on sappers, and incidentally the Bengal engineering group, the Bengal sappers, their headquarters is in Roorkee, so the shooting was going to be in Roorkee. So I said, that's my hometown. So he said, okay, you are the producer then. So I became the producer of the shoot because I was supposed to get where the food is going to come from, where people are going to stay, because I knew all the logistics. Everybody was a friend. So next thing I know that I'm back in Roorkee as a producer of a documentary, and my parents are thinking he's doing something fun, and they meet Colonel Kapoor and they're all excited, and he's told them that I make amazing music. So some validation has happened, and they're okay, because they've been asking me, what are you doing, not joining hotels. And I was just like kind of hustling the producing gig.
And you're 21, 22 at this time,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Just making calls, and filmmaking, I realized very early, is all common sense. So just getting that. And then there were these two people I meet there in the film shoot who kind of changed my life and take it to a completely different direction. The cameraman of the shoot is this future best friend of mine, Siddharth Anand Kumar.
Right.
Sid AK. And his assistant, one of my closest friends even now, Aisha Sood, who was a camera assistant to Sid. And
you stumble across these people on the shoot.
On the shoot, because they are shooting the documentary, Sappers, and we are shooting in the cantonment where everybody's my friend, and we're doing these things. And I somehow realized that these guys are like my age. They're just a little older, but they understand my songs. And the evenings we would get drunk and we would sing songs, right? So we were singing songs, and they really liked my music. And Aisha told me that I'll make you a rock star. Come sit in my gypsy after this shoot is done. And I followed her, and I sat, because after the shoot I thought I'll take a break and I'll stay in Roorkee. But right after the shoot got done, I sat in Aisha's gypsy.
And you're out.
And we're out.
To Delhi.
And Sid said that I'll produce your album, I'll put in money, and we'll raise money, and we'll record the album, and we'll record music. And I said, okay, let's do it. So next thing, I was in Delhi in Aisha's house, huge house in Johor Bagh, and I'm seeing, wow, this is beautiful. And started discovering a different life. Sid and Aisha were both part of Theatre Action Group.
Right, I know.
So I started going for readings with them, made new bunch of friends there, and that's how the life started expanding. We kind of asked some friends to put in money, and they put in money. We got some money aside, and we started recording my demo for like my album. Actually, we thought that we'll just record it and we'll distribute it ourselves. And we gathered a few musicians who we found. One of them was Arjun Nirula, who you know. We didn't have a bass player, and Arjun was a rich kid in Delhi who could afford to buy a bass.
Yeah.
So he got hired as a bass player, and he had never played bass before. So that was my band. And so me, Arjun, there was this guy called Neeraj, this amazing guy I met in Housecast, Raja. And we played, and there was another Korean bass player who was visiting Raja. He also played bass, and it was just like a collective. And we went to this studio called Pin Drop in Housecast again. It was Shammi Narang's studio.
Oh, Shammi also had a studio in South X.
In South X as well.
Yeah,
yes. He had
Ved Films.
Yeah, but this was his studio in Housecast.
It was called Pin Drop.
Pin Drop. And Shammi heard my music, and he really liked it, and gave me I think a 75% discount or something.
Oh,
and he said
I'm going to just tell people, Shammi Narang was one of those people who used to see on television doing the news in Hindi, and he had this really heavy voice.
And he was actually quite into poetry, and
he did. He was a bit of an author. He used to enjoy the arts, and maybe kuch sunao. Those kind, but
no, amazing. And it's like these people do so much for you. I don't realize how much it has. If Shammi Narang had not given me that 75% discount and given me good number of hours in a studio, probably I wouldn't have recorded my voice ever in a professional studio. And that his was the first professional studio.
And what happens with this music? How much time does it take you to make this?
We just had a week. So
in a week you've done the album.
So we recorded 6-7 songs, demos, and we had a DAT master.
And a CD.
And a CD. And it was amazing. But then we didn't know what to do with it. Obviously, it was not going to go anywhere because we're not going to distribute. And that dream kind of came crashing down there, because then we also got busy with other work, and it was, okay, let's keep on doing work. We have this master. When we find if somebody to distribute it, we'll distribute it. I still have that tape with me.
I have a couple of DAT tapes with me of recordings from that point in time. And is this the DAT tape that then leads you to say, I need to make a film to put this music in?
Oh, that's even later.
Oh, that's even later.
Yeah,
okay.
So then we just hustle away. I work with Colonel. Then after Colonel, I needed to finally make some money. I had started seeing the world. So then I worked with Bobby Bedi,
who was trying to run a digital festival at that time, right?
No, Bobby Bedi at that time was doing Rajdhani.
Right.
And some other shows. So I started working with him. There I met Shekhar Kapoor, and Sid and I decided that we should make a film that we should send to film festivals. But film festivals those days would only take films that were shot on film. We didn't have money to shoot on film. So we decided that let's make a digital film, and then we see an opportunity there, because we see that there are not many festivals that are there for digital films. So we come up with this genius idea of creating a film festival. So we said, okay, let us create that film festival that's going to showcase only digital films, and it's be against like a rebel against film.
It's like how Edinburgh Fringe
Yeah.
was a reaction to the main festival.
Yeah.
Right? So incredible. And you do this festival. Does the legendary food story and the thumbs up story happen here, or is it later?
That's in
or-
Bhopal.
That's in Bhopal.
Yeah.
but हो चुकी है.
Yeah, yeah.
ओह तो वो कहानी तो सुननी बहुत जरूरी है भाई. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back there or whatever because at that time you were in hotel management.
I was in college and we didn't, again, like I had run out of my money, and I would sing in the weekends at a restaurant, and would spend that money by Wednesday, and Wednesday to Friday was again no money day.
Wow.
And then I was really hungry, and my stomach was really paining, and everything looked like food. Like I felt like, like you would see a person and you would see like that person looks like a burger, and like this, everything looked like food. When you're hungry, everything looks like food. And I went to this shop. In fact, this time when I went to Bhopal, I crossed that shop, and I still owe that person money. And I decided, okay, I'll just have one thing, and they won't ask. I'll just tell them I don't have money, and I'll probably come back and give you the money and pretend, I forgot my wallet or something like that. And I had this like chicken patty. So I said, okay, I had that patty. It must have been some 2.5 rupees or something. I had that, and now I realized that I've not eaten. So suddenly I'm feeling more hungry. Then I said, okay, now let me also have that. Let me have that. And had a rum ball. Now it's like the bill is mounting up, and I said, now I'm in it, so might as well have more. So I have a pastry also. Then I said, like, oh no, what? Okay, let me have a thumbs up. So then I asked for a thumbs up, and I have a thumbs up, and I'm glugging it down. I have had every item from that thing, and have no money to pay anything. And I asked the person to turn back for something. What is that? Like really lame trick. And that person turned back, and I fucking ran with half a thumbs up in my belly. And I swear I felt that there's a whole mob running behind me with sticks. I don't know where they got the sticks from, but I could see them running behind me, and I was running for my life. And I made a sharp right somewhere and left somewhere, and then hid myself in a park and lying there hoping. No, I don't think so anybody was chasing me. But lying there, still my stomach was aching really bad. But that pain was much better, with a pain with a full stomach.
And you learned a life lesson that day, but right?
Yeah, it is like quite crazy to have, like, for me, like because I had gone through all this struggle, it's all related with food. For me, it was like I can understand what happens to you when you're hungry. You like, at least for me, 2 or 3 times I've found myself with a criminal bent of mind when you're hungry. And I now when I look at somebody committing a crime, I definitely have to check if that person had enough food on the plate or not.
Right. No, I remember you having told me once, saying that the one moral of the story was never,
run with a thumbs up.
never run with half a thumbs up in your stomach.
No. The bad idea. Because
समझ में नहीं आ
it
रहा
does
है.
that shooting
Bubbles भी
pain.
आ रहे हैं, इंसान भी आ रहा है, सब
It
कुछ हो
does
रहा
that
है.
shooting pain in the plexus, but that pain is much better than an empty stomach.
पेट भरने का दर्द और पेट खाली होने का मतलब, oh my god, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm sorry because I know all your stories and I vicariously live off so many of them. The sofa story will happen later in Bombay, right?
Sofa story happened much later in Bombay.
In Bombay,
the Green
and
Couch.
stop because there's a third story apart from this, which I always love to hear from you, which is the Delhi ka ghar wala story.
When we got kicked out.
No, the ghar which is not a ghar, the door which is not a door.
The door is not a door. Yeah, that also happened. That was Sid's father's place. So
Right.
basically, this is pretty much the time when I started working with Bobby Bedi, and then we were doing the Digital Talkies Film Festival with Shekhar Kapoor. And so I was making little money, but I didn't have a place to stay, which was nice. And one of our housemates turned out that he decided to be of the criminal mindset, stole a friend's credit card and bought some gold with it, and all of that happened. And then suddenly I was without a housemate because I couldn't have continued to stay with him.
Obviously, yeah.
So looking for a place to stay, and I was invited to dinner to Sid's house, and his father said that I have a factory which is now abandoned because I've stopped the garment business, and there's a room there, you can stay there. So I went there to the factory, and it was really abandoned. And I said, this is really weird. I'm staying here. And I walked through the factory and reached the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. And there was a room which was like a room of my dreams. It's a beautiful room, nicely painted, nice floors, balcony, nice light. I remember this money plant there, which was there. And it just felt very
So
nice.
lovely.
And I opened my bags, and took my clothes out, and I was shoving them in the cupboard, but the cupboard door won't open. And I kept on pulling it, and it wouldn't open. And I tried everything. I saw this lock. There was no lock in it. It just wouldn't open. So I called my friend's father and checked with him, and he started laughing. He said, you should come to dinner, and I'll tell you why the cupboard door is not opening. I went to dinner, and I was sitting there at the dinner. There was Sid's mom, and a gentleman who looked like Jesus sitting in front of me. And I asked Sid's father, so you're going to tell me why the door doesn't open? And he's pointed it to this man, Jesus-looking man. That Jesus-looking man was Rajan Khosa. And Rajan Khosa started laughing. And he said, because the place where I was staying was a set for his film. And they had just made that as a set, and that cupboard is not a cupboard. It's just a kundi on the wall that they had put. And I realized that I was living in a set, and I lived in a set for a while.
You know who else lived not on a set but just off a set?
Who?
Javed Saab.
Oh yeah, he did.
Javed Saab, when he didn't have a place to stay, Kamal Amrohi Saab, I think Pakiza का जहाँ पर उनका studio था, and उस studio के prop room में वो रहते थे, and used to say that there was just one bench that he would be inside.
And he once, I think, he found a filmfare, an abandoned filmfare that was, I think, Meena Kumari or somebody's filmfare that was lying there.
We've been through 2 sections of Stumble, but we're still stumbling across so many aspects of Ankur's life. We still haven't come to all his favorite music and all that he's doing today, but I promise you, in the last segment, I'll touch upon that, and I'll also get to some of your favorite questions that we always ask in Stumble. So stay right there. We'll be back with Ankur Tewari Part 3. Thank you for listening to Stumble. Why don't you join our tribe of community builders, creators, and culture shapers? If you find this interesting, all you need to do is go and subscribe to stumble.community on Instagram. Welcome back. We're with Ankur Tewari on Stumble, and we are stumbling along on his journey, understanding what happened, the people he stumbled across, the creative inspiration he's had. And of course, with him, there are so many careers that he has discovered and made his own. You've done this album, right? As you said, this album is out. Now what's happening with this album? Who's it going to? Where's it being released?
You're talking about Jannat?
I'm talking about what you did with Siddharth, etc. when you talked about the Jannat.
Yeah, no, that was demos. That some of those demos ended up being in Jannat.
Becoming Jannat, okay.
Yeah.
So what happens with this?
Nothing happens with that because we don't get any takers for that album. It's still a far reality to release your album. Somebody tells me that you should put your songs in a film. I try sending my demos to some film directors, producers. It doesn't work out because the sound is not what the popular film sound is at that time in the 90s and 2000s. There was a particular sound, a remix era is there, and people like that kind of music. My music is more acoustic and intimate, and they're not liking that kind of music for films. Somehow, I've seen it as a pattern in my life. If things are not working out, then they kind of require a world for it to exist, and you have to start from top and you have to create that world. So like Sid and I, when we wanted to make a film for a digital film, and there were no digital film festivals, we ended up working on a festival so that our film could play there. Then we made a digital film that played on the festival. And similarly, when I didn't have any films taking my music, Sid and I conspired that we should make a film. And Sid and I ended up making a film called Let's Enjoy, in which I ended up putting my song. So my first release of my music, commercial release of any of my music, was through the film that I had to make.
It's incredible. I mean, when I love what you just said. If you can't get what you want out there, create the world that it can fit in. And it's absolutely brilliant because you seem to have done it over and over again, as you will realize.
Which is what we have done in Kommune as well.
Absolutely.
If you see, it's the same thing. If you feel that world doesn't exist and you want to exist in it, just create that
the world.
And it's actually not that difficult, because when you start creating it, you realize that you're not alone and there are more people like you. And you start forming those bonds, and you start forming a family, and people start getting braver when they dream a dream together.
How do you find like-minded people? What's your filter?
Oh, that's I've never thought of it like that.
Or you stumble across them?
I do stumble across a lot. I've been very, very fortunate in my life to have stumbled across so many people, whether it was somebody like Colonel Kapoor, to Sid, Aisha, to even Bobby Bedi, Shekhar Kapoor, you. People have just shown up. And I feel very, very fortunate to have bumped into so many people through my life, because I've learned so much from everyone. And it feels like there are so many more people to meet still. So that curiosity factor, probably I'm very curious as a person. I want to understand how this person is thinking. And secondly, like I somehow feel that because I didn't finish college, that I'm still in college. Then the course is still on. And these are the professors you keep on meeting.
So you meet great professors, but are you ever worried about being marked?
Marked as what?
As in, oh, somebody is going to judge me. Somebody is going to say this is a 9 out of 10. The whole thing of, see, putting work out there for a creator is one thing. Then when it is taken over by people on the other side and they react, they comment, how do you react to that? I mean, I'm very sensitive at times to creation.
For me, it is like if I see all my work, it's all autobiographical. You can see who I am. And I also understand I'm not the same person who I was a few years back. So when I see Let's Enjoy, there are so many things in it I don't like now. But that was me at that point.
That time.
And I would critique it. I would critique some of my earlier recordings. I'm sure if I hear my demo that we recorded in Pin Drop, I would not like them. But that was me at that time. And there is no other document of me at that time which is so honest. Because when you put your work, when you record your songs, they should reflect who you are at that period of time. And that person that you are at that period of time could be a beautiful person, could be an ugly person, could be a scared person, could be a jealous person, could be anything.
So why was that first album called Jannat? Was that how you were feeling?
Yeah, because the earlier I had thought that I'll call my album Hum, which is a very interesting thing, because in my current album that I just released, Akela,
there is a song called Hum Reprise, in fact.
Because the first Hum is in my first album.
Oh my God! I promise you, I was going to, when I was listening to the album this morning, and I came to that song. I said, "Yaar, pehle to aaya nahi album mein, to kyun hai?" But oh my God, that's wonderful.
So it is like this album is a kind of a full circle for many journeys for me.
Beautiful.
So funnily enough, the album was called Jannat because I ended up recording the album in Lahore. It was always in my, I had dreamt of what Lahore would be like, because they've put this iron curtain between these two countries where you're not allowed to dream beyond that curtain. And I had to kind of break through and see what's there,
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
for me, I found myself for a few months in Lahore recording with a bunch of amazing musicians. And I felt a true camaraderie with musicians there. And I felt like if there's a heaven, it's like friendship, and is beyond lies and beyond propaganda and beyond stories that are sold to you and shoved down your throat. And there is nothing more beautiful than love. And I felt extreme love there. I probably in my stay there didn't pay for one meal in any restaurant. As soon as they would come to know I'm from India, they wouldn't take money from me. They're beautiful people. They would give their heart and soul out. They were recording with me day in, night out. And we would play cricket. We would record music with crack jokes and have...
Did Mohabbat Zindabad happen then?
Mohabbat Zindabad happened later in Side A, Side B.
No, sorry, I was just trying to see, does it sort of fit in there? But what song, if anybody had to hear...
So Jannat was a song I wrote in Lahore.
Right. And that song, for the audience who's there, the people who are listening, this is something which they should... That song would be like a nice summary of the journey in Lahore.
Yeah, so that would make you If you hear the words, you will see what I was feeling at that time.
Give us 2
in
lines.
अर्ज़ है एक दास्तां ज़ुबां होता है कोई असर, याद ही नहीं मुझे. अब तो मैं और मेरी दास्तां है कहानी ऐसी मेरी. सोच रहा हूँ मैं. I've not sung it in a long time.
It's just so nice to hear. Don't worry, we'll give you links for to listen to.
The chorus goes, ले चलो मुझे जन्नत हो जहाँ, दो आवाज पुकारो मुझे यहाँ.
So lovely.
So that came from
That's
there.
so wonderful. I mean, to know the journey of an album and to know where it is, and this album, then suddenly the indies has sort of just started, right? I mean, the entire indie movement is starting. Which year is this?
So, oh my God, the album Jannat happened in 2008. After that, I formed Galat Family, my band, because then suddenly I realized I have to play it live. So I met with Sid Kuto, and he called up a bunch of his friends, and we formed a band, and we started touring everywhere. We started playing music wherever there could be a semblance of a venue. India was just like about getting a place where people were kind of making venues. We were coming from a time from
Correct.
Delhi where there used to be Friends of Music and all of those things.
And has OML started? OML is already
OML has
around?
just
Yeah.
started.
Okay.
They like my music. They start repping me. They have this festival, which was an
NH7.
offshoot of NH7 had just started. But before that, there was another festival called Big Chill that had happened.
Yes, the one in Goa.
Yeah, so Big Chill had happened, and where we had realized, okay, now amazing, this festival scene is beautiful. Why don't we have something like this in India? So then the Weekender starts, and we start getting stages built for music. More places start opening up as venues. Blue Frog happens, and a lot of venues start happening, and the music scene starts, thriving. And we start playing music, and in the meantime we get so busy playing music that we forget to record music. So we're not recording any music, but we play.
Exactly. You're just playing. I've attended so many of those shows and seen the audience. You'd built yourself this nice little tribe that used to go everywhere Ankur used to go. And it was fabulous to see that energy. But MTV Indies happens around the same time.
Right after.
Just after
So all
this.
of this is happening, and things are going well, things are going fine, but still the economy is not that good. You can't support yourself as a musician. So I'm also writing screenplays on the side and doing a little bit of filmmaking.
Yash Raj.
Raj.
He did a lovely series for Yash Raj where they were doing this thing called Y Films, and I remember there were all stories around love that
Love
happened.
Shots, yeah.
It was called Love Shots, and Airtel had sponsored it, if I remember correctly, right?
Nikhil Taneja was involved.
Nikhil
from
Taneja
Yuva.
was involved. Our friend Nikhil was involved in it as well, and it's amazing. I mean, how many journeys start together, and I still remember some of those beautiful films. He had such a wonderful cast. This was OTT before OTT.
Yeah.
He did actually that. Every film there was Kulbhushan Kharbanda.
Yeah.
Right, I remember
Yeah.
he was there. There's that film in which the protagonist, the one person is dead. Ali was there in that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and Ali was doing my film at that time. It was an incredible bunch of people.
Yeah.
What a brilliant cast you had.
Yeah. That was all thanks to Shanu. She was casting for me.
Shanu Sharma, who's really made YRF casting what it is. And frankly, all the films that are cast there, if you get noticed by Shanu Sharma, you are made. Ranveer, it's included. Right?
Yeah. No, so it was a really good experience, but I still kind of needed to make more money. And I got a call from Aditya Swami, who I knew from Delhi. He used to work in Coke at that time, and now he was with MTV. And he said that we're starting this new thing called MTV Indies, and we want you to kind of head it. And I said, why me? I don't know how to do these things. He said, no, I know that you can do it. I thought about it, and it was a good money gig as well. So I said, yes, we should do it. And my promise to them was that I would show up for 2 hours every week. And I was a consultant, and I would show up and I would give you the lay of the land, and then you can operate on that and, see how it goes. As things went, I think in a month or so, I was there every day for 7-8 hours because
you're enjoying it so much.
I got consumed by it, and I met so many beautiful people, so many amazing
work you did.
and amazing artists who I met there. There were graphic designers, and I realized after Let's Enjoy, I had not worked with such a big team, which I had kind of forgotten. So I started working with those people, the graphics scene, the music team, the packaging team, the filmmakers, some
Quickly tell us
musicians.
2-3 names of people who were very exciting, who you said, yeah, these guys are like amazing. Just names. I mean, we don't want to get so many.
Osho Jain, who's a big artist, he was
Now,
my
yes.
intern.
Osho was
there.
an intern.
Then there was, I think Prateek was also there in MTV. Not Prateek Kuhar, the
Arora. Yeah, Prateek Arora was there. Yes.
Yeah.
The Prateek Arora who does science fiction storytelling using AI right now on Instagram, if you go and see his handle, and also is working with Bang Bang Films. Oh my God, it's all sort of coming to us. So,
So a lot of interesting talent in that MTV office, which was inspiring me, and I really got excited with that. We did these awards and we did these gigs and this festival.
Yumi and Cyrus did a workshop at the same
Yeah.
time. Ankur was teaching us. Ankur is amazing that way. So Ankur said, because you keep talking about writing films. You say, "Dekho, baatein mat karo, karte hain." So that's where we really share a
Yeah.
lot of commonality. And we sat at Cyrus Haukar's madhouse, where he would take 10 minutes to first go and do, incense sticks so that the aura is right. I'm like, yaar. But we wrote such amazing. We actually, both of us wrote 2 amazing films. I will make one of these days, as will he. But it was really thanks to you.
Yeah, so it was just like and at that time it exposed me to the hip hop scene, and through that Zoya was writing Gully Boy, and she wanted to write something around hip hop, and she sent me the script to read, and one of my notes to her was that we should use these kids, you should see these kids. Because they are doing amazing music. She had seen one video, I think Nazi's video, Afat, and she wanted to meet them. And I said that I have a gig that I'm doing with Indies at Blue Frog.
Right.
You should come for that. And trust me, once you see them, you'll be mind blown. And that was the gig where Divine and Nazi performed together at Blue Frog. And Zoya was there and she said, I want to meet them. And then I set up the meetings between Divine, Nazi, Zoya and Rima. And
I remember you had taken me to Zoya's house, which is, on that Carter Road. And when I went inside, I in fact asked you. Bandstand, sorry, yeah. And Bandstand. And I asked Ankur, I said, is this where all the Gully Boy stuff happened?
Yeah.
Right? And everybody, you said they used to come there and sit. And in fact, the whole thing about writing the dialogues also, because their language.
So that was like, so then we did, that was a whole sequence. We made the music with these amazing hip hop artists from Bombay, and it was a beautiful experience, learning experience for me as well. And then when they were doing the dialogues, they got Altaf and other hip hop artists to come in and sit there, and they kind of peppered all the dialogues with their lingo and their way of talking and their style, and the actors spent a lot of time with them. Ranveer spent a lot of time with both Divine and Nazi to get the body language right. So did Moin.
Did Javed Saab have to bless all of this? Because I do think that at times both Farhan and Zoya go to him, and what was his reaction from where he comes?
His reaction has always been amazing. He always comes with his gems, and he is straightforward, blatant, doesn't lie. So he says it how it is. He liked some things. He didn't like certain things. He didn't like the first version of what we had taken them for Apna Time Aayega. It was Sabka Time Aayega that time, and he said this probably will not work that well. You should rethink about it. It's the climax of the film, and we were a little hurt because we were very confident about it. But while going back from there in the taxi, I remember we cut down Sabka and I wrote Apna, and I told Zoya that it'll work better, and she saw the merit in it. And even in the edit spaces, he had some really beautiful ideas, structural ideas that made the film more interesting. So he obviously has a beautiful insight on everything.
And that's the joy that a creator who at his age, even today stays relevant, because he's so hungry to know, he's so curious. आपको बिठाएंगे, आपसे बातें करेंगे. Do you think curiosity is a key element of creativity?
Yeah, I think if you what they say, if you kill the child in you, you're not going to survive long as a creator. So I think curiosity is the key factor. If you're not curious about things and you think then kind of, I think it's the beginning of the end.
Well, this is the beginning of the end, but because normally we would end up doing 3 segments, but Ankur's here, I have to do a 4th. I'm very sorry, I'm going to take another 10 minutes of your time, but your time as well. But Ankur, this is such a fabulous journey that you've had. Apna time iske baad aayega. Thank you for listening to Stumble. Why don't you join our tribe of community builders, creators, and culture shapers? If you find this interesting, all you need to do is go and subscribe to stumble.community on Instagram. And we're back with Ankur Tewari for our 4th segment, Glory Hallelujah, because with him, these conversations continue. I really feel that we're just sitting together as friends, and we always have these conversations. And it's so wonderful to know about your journey, these influences, everything that you're talking of. I wanted to ask you, you finished with something like Gully Boy, right? And it's done phenomenally well, though initially music labels reacted to it saying this won't work and things. I have often had a crisis of confidence at these moments, right? I'll turn and say, to aapko kya chahiye? How do you convince and how do you stick your courage to that point?
I feel like success is something that you can't have control over. Whether it'll work or not, you can never have control over that. The only thing you have control over is what you are telling is in the honest form of it's the best honest form of telling your story. That's the only control you have, and you don't want to lose out on that. You also don't want to be successful with something that's dishonest, because then you won't know what made it successful. So as long as you stay connected to what honestly the story demands, and trust me, while doing that, there are a lot of harsh calls that you have to take to stay honest, and you might be tempted to do something that you feel is more juicy. But every time that I have stuck to the story,
I completely know. I know
it works.
Yeah.
And most of the times I have been unsuccessful with those decisions as well. So it's not that we're only talking about the ones that have been successful, but a lot of times I have taken honest calls. A lot of my songs and a lot of my albums I have written with all my heart and all my soul, and really poured my life out on them, and they've not worked.
So tell me, creating for yourself, right? You're the final person taking the call. Creating for someone else, when you're doing a score, when you're doing songs for music albums, you just did Made in Heaven, you're doing Archies, you did Gehraiyaan. How do you decide? Who decides?
Finally, that's a different thing when you're working with a director. Then it's a director's call, because then it's their film, and finally their name is going to be going with it, saying a film by. So you have to kind of complement their vision. Sometimes you have to take calls that you might not agree with, but the director is getting what they want in terms of the vision of what their story is. So you have to really follow the lead there rather than lead it. And that's also a big learning experience, because when you are following somebody's lead, you're also seeing how they are taking their decisions and what they are trying to say, and not impose yourself on that. And it is exciting and interesting to see that.
And having that partnership, does it require, what are the 3 things that a good partnership requires? Is it, would you say there's trust, there's respect, there's what else?
I think a very important thing is that what you learn from sports is that what is your position in this game, and what are you doing, what are you bringing to the table.
Got it.
And you know your strengths, and then you know that what are their strengths. So don't try, if everyone tries and does the same thing, then it probably will get a little muddled. A lot of times you feel that, okay, I could do it better, then I should be making my film and doing it there. If I'm working with somebody else on somebody else's film, then I will not cross the line and move into their department. And I'll also not let them cross their line and move into my department. So it's the respect factor comes there, but also understanding, like in cricket, you say, like, the opening batsman has a different role, and the 2 down batsman has a different role, the opening bowler has a different role, so you find a role in the game.
So you know your place in the entire setup. I mean, in the canvas, you know where you fit in. There's respect.
You had said once very interestingly, like when you go to a meeting, you only take the number of people who are going to contribute, and everybody should know what their role in that meeting is.
Absolutely.
And you need to know what you're going to get out of it. What are you trying to get out of it? I remember you saying this. So it's pretty much same thing applied here.
No, that's great. What's one thing you learned from Zoya?
Empathy,
Okay. And what's one thing you learned from Shakun on Gehraiyaan?
patience.
Can I be a little... Is one because you're working with the dharma, and is one because you're
No,
working
it's like
as yourself?
I think like how Zoya writes her characters, I've seen like she is empathetic even towards the darker characters she's writing or the antagonists. Like you see that she sees it through the lens of empathy.
Yeah.
Shakun is a very good listener, but at the same time he's very sure about what he wants, and he's very patient with you. He lets you do what you are doing. And you don't realize that he has guided you and taken you to the place what he wants. So he's very patient with you.
Not many people know that that song which everyone loves, Gehraiyaan, was your comment on Corona.
It was my comment on Corona at that time in a way, and some toxic relationships I was seeing around myself.
I know that as well. But can you imagine, tu marz hai dawa bhi.
That came from a doctor actually, who was my partner Pratna had gone to shoot a doctor who was saying that we have to learn to respect the virus because the cure lies in the virus.
Amazing. Can you imagine? It isn't about love and heartbreak alone. It's also about...
It is kind of that.
It just appeals on both sides.
Because it affects like it's also about a toxic relationship.
Correct.
Is where you feel like a lot of times you've seen in toxic relationships how people keep on going back to that and justifying the wrong action as well. And saying, okay, now this person does that, but maybe that's the reason. And you keep on forgiving and keep on going back. And that's a trait of a toxic environment. And that reflected in this as well. So it was a few worlds meeting.
No, it's crazy. And again, I just want to touch upon the fact that you went to the extent when you were doing Gehraiyaan that you created a public playlist and a private playlist for every character.
For the characters.
Why was that?
Just to understand them better, to understand
that there's a public persona and a private persona.
Yeah, because this film was about the duality of personalities. So I wanted to see what is the kind of range they operate in, and like what are they trying to project and what they really are. And that was a good exercise to do.
I think it was a fantastic exercise, because as an exercise is something that I want to use it creatively somewhere to ask people, saying, so if there was something that represents you and something that represents the inner you, which actually brings me to something you said to me this morning, which just blew me away. Ankur Tewari will throw these pearls and he normally casts them before swine, but I am not one of those. तो मैंने वो पकड़ लिया आज. इन्होंने एक बहुत ही interesting चीज़ बोली. He said, the word meme has got two me's in it, and that at some level defines the tragedy of this generation, that you have to constantly keep thinking of yourself.
Yeah, and tragedy is a good word, because I think the earlier generations have messed up this world, and if there's nobody else left for them to fall back on.
But themselves.
But themselves. So it is the generation that will take selfies. It is the generation that will think about themselves. It is a generation that will feel lonely but yet wants to be part of a tribe. They will dance to the same song and feel connected in a weird way. Also, they won't have much time left for you and your bullshit. So they are there to take revenge, probably.
Wow. There's a next film coming after this. It is called Parchaiya. बन सकती है. Actually बन सकती है.
Zombie film बनेगी वो तो.
But another thing that I want to say about Ankur is that Ankur's diversity, what he's able to do together. There's a show that he's just made for Amazon. It is on the brink of, I think now you're in that whole place of making the cut, which you did with Swanand Kirkire. Swanand and you have become close during this process. Kausar and you have become close during this process. This lyricist and your thing. I was reading an article on Coke Studio Bharat where you said that you didn't want to be the only person. You wanted to have a committee or a team.
Yeah, because it cannot be like, I feel like although art, I feel at some point you need to take an anarchic point of view, because you have to abandon it and you have to cut it. But at the same time, in the process, I feel that you need to work with a team, because then you get better ideas. It's like a band. You get like different ideas from different people, but you mold it together.
That's great. So you've got all these people together. Again, you turned and said that Coke Studio Bharat is, there's a lovely line in that saying, Apna Sunao. Apna Sunao. Right? Because you wanted to hear about the stories of those people, right?
I feel like India is the youngest country in the world, and the young people should tell their stories. and that's what we did. We got a lot of young talent to tell their stories who would otherwise be waiting for a long time to prove their time to before they came and performed on a like prestigious stage as Coke Studio. But I felt that the time is now, and then they should just tell the story. And for a long
Coke
time,
has done a brilliant job of. I know Arnab is somebody I've got to meet and work with, and what I love is that he had the conviction to say, you know what, we're going to put this is what we'll focus on. And this morning in that article, which was an article written a long time back, but because the link updates, so on top of that it says the first song has got 8 million views, but the link below showed that it's crossed 40 million views. And that's just the conviction of one song. And you've got like, what, 7 or 8 songs that are already out?
8 songs.
Right?
7 songs are out, 8th is supposed to be
Do you
out
know
now.
what's the total number of, what's the reach in terms of, well, I know it's a mind-blowing number.
It's a lot of number. I usually try and
You
run
don't
away
care.
from numbers, but it is a lot of. They are happy, so we are doing season 2. So
is fantastic.
we are prepping for that right now. The interesting thing was working with Coke didn't feel like working with a brand. They gave us a free rein, so I am to blame for everything that went wrong, and in terms of music aspect of it, and they should get the credit of giving me a free rein of doing whatever I wanted.
No, but see, I think it's a journey. For me, I think you were reinventing what you did in Indies, what you couldn't do in Indies maybe, because it was on a GEC, a general entertainment channel, which is cable driven. उसमें तो क्या आना चाहिए और roadies भी चल रहा है और Splitsvilla भी चल रहा है, यहाँ पर ये भी लगाना है. It becomes a really tough decision. You've now moved to one more role, which is one is that you are curating soundtracks and sort of putting them together for things like Made in Heaven and other shows. You're heading the Tiger Baby record label. Congratulations, that's
No, thank
fabulous. And I love that little tiger with headphones.
Yeah.
Right, looks so cute.
But it was never like as I said, like this past few years have been kind of full circles of sort in terms of where you started your journey by bringing a tape to a music label and you becoming a label is because I feel that I don't want anybody else to come to this city and feel what I felt. They should definitely feel rejection if they have to be rejected. But at the same time, I think the worst thing you can do to anybody is to make them feel they're not heard. I think that definitely is a gap I want to fill. And I feel that if you can fill that gap, probably a gem will come out of it. That will probably be the biggest top buster of the world.
I think you will find the next big name. Whether it's going to be the Epithilon of the future or whether it's going to be the Nazi or anybody else, I'm very certain that Coke Studio Bharat is going to do it because it's being true to Bharat. And there will be songs that will be regional that may not work in another region, but there'll be something which will become absolutely universal. So I'm sure it's going to happen. Your second album was called Side A, Side B, which sounds very much about like the mixtape generation and the two sides of your life, maybe. Your third album, which is just out, Akela, is a deeply personal album. When I heard it this morning, I went through the lyrics of one or two of the songs. That, of course, that Akela hook is stuck in my head. There's also Parwana, which is a version of Akela, which you because as you were telling us this story that there was a fight about.
No, there was Parwana and Ishare.
Ishare. Yeah, sorry, Ishare. And what happens is that you've got these great songs, but it's really personal. And I think Pratna, who's your better half, said in one of our meetings. In fact, just yesterday she turned and said, "I think I've got to spend more time with him because Akela." What's making you feel so lonely? Why are you exploring loneliness in this album?
Because I feel that you feel kind of, as I said, like, you feel, are you being even heard? There's so much clutter of work out there. And you are what has been a boon for our generation, which is the digital world. It's also a curse because you meet younger musicians and they immediately talk about numbers. They talk about followers, how to increase your followers, how to increase your following. And I feel that it reflects the kind of digital revolution as I compare it always to the industrial revolution, with these digital factories working with these laborers who are collecting data for them, and there are no labor laws as yet. So it's a really dark time for creators who don't know their rights and they don't know what they're doing. They are just trying to feed what they call content, which is again a very offensive term for me. It's like you're creating content, you are serving the factory. Actually, they're not interested in anything that you're doing. They're only interested in who's watching it and the data they're collecting. You're just miners who are in this huge mine for them, working for them, and they don't care about you at all. And it is like just disheartening to see young innocent minds being given these fancy, how in the offices you go and you put the employee of the week. I really find it sad. Similarly, they put this like they'll call you a creator, they'll call you an influencer. Like, is that even a term? Like, it feels offensive. And the young of this world, they are feeling proud about it, and they're just mindlessly collecting data for these guys and creating crap because they have to be consistent. You're told that you have to be consistent, put everything. Which artist is putting that much time, that much work out? Like, if you see any artist in the world, nobody's put that much work out. The greatest artists in the world have not put that much work out. So what are you trying to make of these people? Like, so it's just sad. So anyway,
No. But it's lovely to hear that. And if that is one side, which is totally agree with you. What gives you hope? What currently makes you feel there's still hope in this world?
Because when you see young leaders, when you see somebody like a Malala, you see somebody like a Greta that uses this medium in their favor and does something mind-blowing that the adults can't understand, and they are the only ones who are talking sense. One is talking education, one is talking environment. There are no other topics to be discussed in this world. The older people are wasting their time on religion, discrimination. Like, they're just pretending. They're pretending the ship is not sinking. And it is just disheartening to see how stupid can you be. It's a sinking ship, and you are talking about this. And the two kind of leaders who are talking about, they are both young because they can see. So it is so that gives you hope.
No, absolutely. And I think a friend of ours who's deeply concerned about what happens told you something brilliant. Who said that if you're put off by bad content, your job is to be brilliant at what you do and create great content. And that's what we're trying to do.
Great work.
Like,
I feel like content just feels like you're making something for a factory. It feels like it all looks the same.
But so is work, because industrial output was called work.
Yeah.
So whatever you may call it. I mean,
but like for me, like I remember when I was when I came to, I also have the worst business ideas, by the way. So don't listen to me too seriously. When I came to Delhi, to a mall where you would do public demand.
Yes.
Ebony?
Born Lucky.
Born Lucky.
The game show.
And I went to a shop. It must have been a Benetton or some, I don't know what. And there were like 20 shirts the same color. And I told myself, this is such a stupid idea. Who's going to buy these shirts? Everyone's going to be wearing the same shirts. Because I came from a thrift store kind of a vibe where you would pick up, oh my, this is unique. And that I used to find very unique. For me, it was a stupid idea if the shirts are same color, but we are living in a world where it's a great idea. So,
but that's all. I mean, see, we live in a world where you will see both aspects of whatever. I know there are times when Ankur becomes, the doldrums of despond, and I become the pool of optimism, which is where we are leading to at this moment. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Why are you a part of Kommune?
What's my position there?
No, why are you a part of Kommune? Why did you agree to be a part of Kommune?
Because I felt that it was filling a gap in my life, which was that I needed to do something which I complain about, which is not enough things happening. I liked the idea of a community, links to Akela, because I feel that there are many lonely people scattered around the world. We need to get them together. I remember the discussion we had when we were doing the logo, and we were talking about how do we connect the dots, and like we used to have those games where you used to connect the dots and an image would come out.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel what we are trying to do with Kommune is that you understand your strengths and you come in with your strengths and you find different people with their strengths and you try and bridge those things with the lines that are drawn in the middle.
We've done so well with Spoken. We've just won the best IP in Asia. Right? I mean,
really? In Asia?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
long-standing IP in Asia because it's actually a global EMAX award. And the second is the Art Culture Food Festival of the Year, and third time running.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Right? And now we're on to Stumble. right? Which you're a part of. You've heard all my crazy
Yeah.
ideas about it or whatever. What's exciting about Stumble?
Stumble, I am excited to see something exciting in that's beyond something I understand. I still don't understand what's going to happen there, but I'm excited about what could happen there because when I see things happening in the world of AI, when I see things happening in the world of filmmaking, I see things happening in the world of music, and what happens when these things collide and what could come out of it. I feel it's going to be an exciting lab, and I'm really excited at even investigating what could we do with sound there, which has not been done before.
No, absolutely. I think everybody who's come here, pitch it to a brand. No, you talk to so many brands nowadays, and whatever, etc. So you have to pitch it to a brand rather than me. I'm sick of doing it. So
Yeah.
just
So if I have to pitch Stumble to a brand, I would definitely talk about an amusement park. I would talk about the rides are going to be exciting because overall it's going to be fun, but you don't know what's going to be there in the next corner. It could be thrill, it could be fear at times, it could be joy, it could be laughter, and it could be anything, all in the world of art and creativity.
you just given me the tagline: an amusement park of ideas. We
Okay.
got it. Fabulous. Before you go, these are the fabulous Ganjifa cards that Virken got done for us, which is part of our invitation kit. When you all will be a part of the festival, you'll get all of these. They're absolutely phenomenally made. You've got to pick one or two which resonate with you, and then just hold them up to the camera and tell us why. Here they are.
So what do I have to do?
Just if you like one or two,
Yeah, so I like
so just show it to the camera and tell us why.
This is also the motto of my life: go with your gut. I feel that every time I have not gone with my gut, I have taken a wrong turn. But I feel that we are kind of connected with nature, and gut always keeps you close to what's natural as an idea.
Great.
Stumble onto people you want to keep talking to. I would say stumble onto people you would want to be listening to, because I feel there's so much to learn, and there is a gem in almost anybody you meet, whether it's the guy who's driving your taxi, to the person you meet at the bar, to the person who's sitting next to you on a plane, or to your best friend.
Two people that you would like to invite to Stumble, or just like to see there. Could be anyone.
Vishwanathan Anand, I feel it'd be great because I love his mind. Because I would imagine that he would think out of the box and yet think in patterns. Could be very exciting. And Shah Rukh Khan, probably it'll make us a lot of money also. Also, I love his mind, so it would be exciting to have him there.
I absolutely love his mind. Ankur, you're doing nursery rhymes, you're doing children's albums, you're doing Amazon shows, you're curating music, you're creating music. Akela is an absolutely brilliant album, and I'm telling you, I having heard it, and now that the earworm is stuck, I genuinely can tell you, I think it's great work. You've explored a brand new sound.
So, what did you think of the album?
I genuinely thought it's deeply personal, and what I like to do once I've heard an album and something stuck with me is I like to go over the lyrics because I want to see what are the things that stick with me. A word that stuck with me throughout the album, because it comes more than once, is Parwana in various songs. You know, and Parwana is a firefly. Is that who you are?
So it is there is a sense of self-destruction that you went through the pandemic, the idea, and I was fascinated by the idea that you can be so passionate about something that you can be destructive. So
that's where it came from.
That's where it came from. Parwana is a song that I've been singing for a long time. I used to sing an angrier version of it, and it got mellowed down during the pandemic. Similarly, the song Hum, that was in the DAT tape, that was recorded in Pin Drop, to my first album, to this album. So that song has traveled. That was a song I started writing when I was leaving Bhopal. I was on the train and I saw my friends as the train started moving, and I realized that I'm not going to meet them for many, many years. maybe never. And that's when the first words of that happened. They ended up coming in the DAT tape at Pin Drop to my first album. And the third album, when I released, incidentally, was on 4th of August, which was somehow the Alumni Day. And I met some people after 25 years. And those words were about them. So it's
incredible.
Incredible.
It's absolutely incredible. Thank you for your sharing your magical mystery tour with us, because that's what it is. There's so many other stories that you haven't told us. Maybe there will be a part 2 for all of you.
There's already been part 4.
I know, but I mean, I think there'll be a lot more of this. Thank you, Ankur, for letting us stumble through your life. And
no, thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to be somehow a part of so many things in my life because of you. So I'm blindly following you and seeing what I stumble upon next.
If you liked watching this podcast, then don't forget to share it, subscribe it, and like it, so that you can then stumble across many more such conversations.